Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the course Management Information Systems. Today we're going to start off with module 5, that is the information systems in business and society. This module में एक ही chapter है, that is chapter 15, that is about the social and ethical issues regarding the information systems. Right, so far we have talked about the information systems, we talked about the information technology, we've talked about the different kinds of information systems, we've talked about the system development, that what are the steps in or the phases in the system development. But this chapter is very much different from all those chapters that we have done so far. That was mostly concentrating on the benefits of information systems, that if they're being used in the organization, तो वो organizational goals fulfill कर रहे हैं, वो competitive advantage achieve कर रहे हैं information technology के through, and they're also being used to bring in customers, to allow customer satisfaction. So there were different kinds of benefits that were being associated with the information systems. In this chapter, this is more of an awareness chapter, that whenever you want to implement an information system in an organization, you need to be aware of the social and ethical issues that are related with the information systems. That is, when these systems or when the technology is being used in the organizations, then it has certain drawbacks as well. There are certain kind of negative consequences of using technology or of using information systems widely in the society as well. Right, जी आगे चल के हम इनको देख लेते हैं क्या क्या चीजें हैं. So the learning objectives of today's lecture is to identify what social, ethical and political issues are raised by the information systems. Information systems की वजह से किस किस्म के issues create हो सकते हैं. Understand the 5 moral dimensions of information systems, and also understand the social and ethical side effects of using technology in business. इसके अंदर हम थोड़ा बहुत टच करेंगे of the illegal uses of the computers, जो कि हमने security वाले chapter में पहले भी किए थे. So I'm not going to repeat all of that, लेकिन that is again a part of the social and ethical issues. Right जी. When we talk about what do we mean by ethical basically comes from the word ethics. Ethics basically क्या है? They are the principles of right and wrong that the individuals use to make choices, because individuals are free human beings and they have the principles of right and wrong, क्या सही है क्या गलत है, and according to that principles, according to those rules of right and wrong, they act out things and they make certain choices in life. So this is the concept of ethics. Now, when in a society, when you're talking about the information systems or when the new technology comes in, then that raises a few ethical questions as well. That is, जब information systems किसी जगह पे आते हैं, then they create opportunities for intense social change as well. Right? Because when they create changes in the social environment, they also threaten the existing distribution of power, the distribution of money, the rights and obligations as well. That is, how are the people going to, again, like we said before, इसमें बहुत again important aspect आ जाता है change management का. Then how are people going to interact with that system? How are the people going to utilize that system or use that system, or either they are going to misuse that system or not? This also issues increase. This issue basically also increases because of the use of internet and e-commerce as well. क्योंकि internet और e-commerce again आपको एक बहुत wide variety of benefits देता है. How you're going to utilize the information, how you're going to transfer the information, distribute the information. So उन सारी चीज़ों का भी बहुत effect पड़ता है when you are implementing a system in the organization, or when you are, in other words, you're implementing the system in the society. Now, these technologies make the assembling, integrating, distributing the information more easily. While on one hand, जब कि हम normally भी बात करते हैं कि हर चीज़ के फ़ायदे और नुकसान भी होते हैं, तो इसी तरह इन technologies के जो फ़ायदे हैं, ये assembling, integrating, distributing information more easily, ये फ़ायदा भी है and नुकसान भी है. because these things can be manipulated as well, and these qualities of these technologies can be used and can be misused as well for other kind of reasons that are not ethical, या जिनको हम unethical बोलते हैं. Right, it's सारे relationship को closely understand करने के लिए let's have a look at the ethical, social and political issues all combined together. Now what we're saying here is that ethics is related with the society as well as the political issues as well. Why? Because whenever there's something going wrong in the society, it can be done by one person, for example. That means it is his or her choice to do something good or bad. Now, in a normal society, there are political institutions and political regulatory agencies that define how a person is going to perform in the society. That is, कि अगर वो गलत किस्म की हरकतें कर रहा है, that means he or she is going to be punished for such an act. Right, ji? So this is why everything, all of these aspects are related. The ethical issues, the social issues and the political issues are related when people are living in a society form. This is what we're saying here, that ethical dilemma has social and political effects as well. So if somebody is doing something wrong and that has something to do with information technology, then that means that society has not created a certain set of rules, and the political institutions and the political regulatory agencies have not created a set of rules according to which the people should act. Whereas in the traditional social settings, people have developed the rules of behavior, and those rules of behavior are supported by the law. For example, rule ये है कि चोरी नहीं करनी, right? So if a person is involved in theft, then there is a law and there is a political law given by the country or given by the organization or given by any political regulatory agency that theft का जो सजा होगी वो ये होगी. Right. Now similarly, when in a normal social setting or in a traditional social setting, there is a set of behavior. There is a set of laws that govern those behavior. But when you have the information systems, we have different kind of technologies that might act as a disturbing force in a normal working environment, and this causes ripples throughout the society, and when it affects the society, that means it is affecting the political institutions as well. It is putting pressure on the political institutions that they need to give certain kind of rules, they need to give certain kind of regulations, they need to develop certain kind of laws for this new emerging social change that is happening. But then again, this kind of things take a lot of years. That means something needs to happen before, something of a wide range needs to be happening before the political institution can take notice of that thing and devise a law so that it can sort of create rules for the behavior or create the codes of conduct for something or create etiquettes for a certain thing. So that's why it takes years to develop etiquettes, expectations, social responsibilities, politically correct attitudes and approved rules. And these things are especially true when we're talking about technology, because आजकल के ज़माने में technology जिस तरह misuse हो रही है, that is so widespread, and जो rules and regulations हैं वो अभी बहुत slowly develop हो रहे हैं. Even in the Western world, maybe बहुत ज़्यादा rules and regulations develop हो गए हैं, but here in Pakistan there's not enough rules and regulations that can put a stop to any kind of activities that are related with the unethical as well as illegal activities that are related with the computers or any kind of information technology, even mobile phones. Now you must be thinking कि कौन-कौन सी चीज़ें हैं that या फिर किस किस्म के टेक्नोलॉजी ऐसी है जो कि आपके सारे सोशल स्ट्रक्चर को डिस्टर्ब कर रही है and it is allowing people to do illegal or unethical activities. Now basically बहुत सारी technologies हैं. Some of the technology trends that raise ethical issues, number one is computer power. जिस तरह computer power increase होती जा रही है, उसी तरह different organizations जो हैं, they are implementing information systems in their organizations, and in fact they rely on the information technology for their very core processes, and that does not include simple organizations or simple businesses, but that includes schools, colleges, universities, hospitals, as well as different religious authorities. These are all encompassing, or they are sort of taking in the new technology and they are relying on the information technology more. Right ji. Now, because of all that cheapness of the computer power and the widely availability of this computer power, as well as the advancement in this computer power, information technology is being sort of taken in by these organizations more, but with the problem that there are no standards so far. However, the standards for ensuring the accuracy as well as the reliability of the information systems are not universally accepted or enforced. That means there are no such standards that can be universally enforced for having a proper information system. कोई इस किस्म का standard नहीं है कि जो ये कहता हो कि आपका information system को ये security features include करने चाहिए, या इस system को इस तरह work करना चाहिए, then it can be working perfectly. That means that it can run into certain kind of errors more often. So आपके जो core business processes हैं, that can be if they're not implemented well, या उनकी proper planning नहीं की गई, या उनके अंदर कोई standardization नहीं की गई, then these processes can run into certain major errors as well. Right, data storage techniques also raise ethical issues, is because again, because of the advancements in the data storage techniques and the cheaply provided data storage equipment, they are increasing databases on individuals as well. Individuals means customers, employees, suppliers. So इन सारे लोगों के भी जो databases हैं वो बहुत ज़्यादा create हो रहे हैं by all kinds of companies, by the public companies as well as the private companies, and this allows for routine violations of these people records to take place, because violating digital record is very cheap and very effective. right जी, एक तो ये चीज़ है कि जो डेटा स्टोर हो रहा है कस्टमर्स या एम्प्लॉयज या सप्लायर्स के बारे में, वो data that can be manipulated as well, that can be used for unethical reasons as well. Now, data analysis again refines that whole process. Data analysis में हमने बोला था कि there are different kinds of techniques and जो कि basically use हो रही हैं for retaining customers and for maintaining the customers. So all these kind of techniques can be used in bad manners as well. For example, companies and the government agencies, because of these data analysis techniques, can find highly detailed personal information about people as well. And there are certain data management tools that combine different pieces of information from different resources. Either they're looking at the web, or they're looking at the company record, or they're looking at the credit card information. And through all these kind of places, they are gathering the data about a certain person. And all of this data can be gathered by the help of different data analysis tools and techniques as well. And one of the method of doing so is called profiling, जिसको हम कहते हैं. It is a method of using computers to compile data from various sources, creating files about different people. So this is one term जो हम use करते हैं, profiling, that can be used. Basically किस लिए use हो रही है? Security reasons के लिए government agencies use कर रही हैं profiling methods to find different terrorists and to find different links between the different terrorists as well. And one of the technique is also called the non-obvious relationship awareness, that is called NORA. Again, this is a more refined profiling technique, gives more powerful profiling capabilities and finds obscure data, hidden relationships from different data. So बहुत इस किस्म का data जो कि बहुत obvious नहीं है, like I said before, data mining was again doing that, predictive analysis was again doing, what were they doing? Data analysis techniques क्या कर रही हैं? ये relationships find कर रही हैं different data के अंदर. So these techniques again can be used to find information about different people as well. and from different sources on either they're on the internet or their credit card information again on the web or from company data. So these techniques can be used to gather information about different people as well. Also, networking developments again bring all of this manipulation one step ahead by mining large pools of data remotely. So people can be sitting on one computer, and through the help of networking, they can be going into other people's computers and data mining the information from those sources as well. Right ji. So this is basically एक डराने वाली बात तो नहीं है, but it's more about an awareness that even though data stores, data analysis techniques were being used, so we said already before that these data stores and data analysis tools were basically being used for the business to provide some kind of competitive advantage and for the benefits of the businesses, but these techniques again can be used for profiling purposes, for gathering personal information about the people, and so these techniques can be used in unethical ways as well. जी बेसिक कॉन्सेप्ट्स देख लेते हैं जब हम एक सोसाइटी में जब रह रहे होते हैं एंड देयर देन पीपल हु आर रिस्पांसिबल फॉर डूइंग सर्टेन एक्ट्स, तो अकाउंटेबिलिटी क्या होती है और रिलायबिलिटी क्या होती है, थोड़ी सी डेफिनेशंस है. लेट्स हैव अ लुक एट इट बिकॉज दिस विल फॉर्म द बेसिस ऑफ आवर नेक्स्ट points, that is about the moral dimensions that are related to the information systems. So keep in mind what I said about the different kinds of technology trends and also keep in mind these business concepts. So इन्हीं सब चीज़ों को आगे लेके हम चलेंगे to define the different kinds of moral dimensions जो information systems की वजह से जो problems create हो सकते हैं on the moral ground, तो वो हम सब अभी आगे चल के discuss करेंगे. So responsibility की जब हम बात करते हैं, that is the acceptable potential cost, duties and obligations for the decision made. That is whoever जो अमल कर रहा है, simple as that, he is responsible for that act. Right. Accountability means mechanisms in place to determine who took responsible action and who is responsible. That means accountability again means कि जिसने अगर गलत काम किया, he's going to be paying for that, and जिसने सही काम किया, he's going to be rewarded for that. Simple accountability. Liability means the feature of political systems in which a body of law is in place that permits individuals to recover the damages done to them by other actors, systems or organizations. That means that if certain person is going through the law or an political institution that he needs to be compensated for such and such act, then there are certain laws that provide certain kind of liability to that person के उसको किसी तरह compensate किया जाए अगर उसको कोई भी damage हुआ है, and if somebody else is taking the responsibility for that problem caused. So the basic concept of all of this is, and the gist of all of this is, that using information technology in a socially responsible manner means that you can and will be held accountable for the consequences of your actions. So this happens in the normal life as well, in the normal world as well. रियल वर्ल्ड में भी यही हो रहा है कि जो भी अगर गलत काम कर रहा है, जो जिस किस्म का अमल कर रहा है, उसको उसी किस्म की सजा मिल रही है, एंड इफ he or she will be held responsible or will be held accountable for whatever he or she has done. This goes true for information technology and information systems as well. If somebody has done anything wrong with the help of computers or through computers or to any kind of computer, then he or she will be responsible for such an act and will be accountable and also will be punished for such an act. Right जी. अब ये basic responsibility, accountability के सारे जो concepts हैं, let's have a look at them in the light of the information system. Right जी. Number one moral dimension of the information systems is information rights. That encompasses the privacy and the freedom in the internet age. That is कि आप कितनी कुछ privacy maintain कर सकते हैं और कितना कुछ freedom maintain कर सकते हैं especially when you are using resources or using different kinds of websites on the internet, or whenever you are on the internet, how much private you are, आपके जो movements हैं वो कितनी कुछ private हैं और कितना कुछ free हैं, और कितना कुछ आपको लोग देख रहे हैं. So the question asked in this moral dimension is, what information rights do individuals and organizations possess with respect to themselves, and what can they protect? तो इसमें बेसिक चीज़ आ जाती है प्राइवेसी. प्राइवेसी बेसिकली क्या है? That people need to be left alone and there's nobody looking at them and there's nobody interfering with whatever they're doing, and there's nobody interfering with whatever they're doing. But actually on the internet it does not happen this way. There are certain challenges to the privacy whenever somebody is on the internet. People's information, people's movement on the internet, a user's, for example, a customer's movement on any kind of e-commerce site, कौन सी क्लिक्स किए हैं, किस वेब पेज के ऊपर गया है, all of these things are monitored on the internet. There are certain rules that are made, for example, that let the people know कि उनकी जो information है वो कौन सी information ली जा रही है और इस information का use किस तरह होगा. So basically this is called informed consent. Informed consent is basically informed consent में basically क्या होता है? The customers give an informed consent to the websites जो भी third party companies हैं that are gathering information about the customers, and they're using that information for other kind of advertisements, for example, and that information is being used legally. But there are certain challenges to the privacy, even though there are certain rules in place. The challenge is that it is possible to track the online activities of any user who is online or who is on the internet. That means the browsing behavior of the person can be monitored. And this usually happens without the visitor's knowledge. जो भी visitor है किसी page का, web page का, he is clicking on some links, or he is going from one page to another, या advertisements के ऊपर click कर रहा है, जो भी कर रहा है, all of these things are monitored online as well. In fact, there is a commercial demand for the personal information, and this is all increasing day by day. क्यों? Because यही वाली information, जो personal information है, ये companies use करती हैं for advertising, for increasing customers, for sort of advertising the right products to the right person. So ये वाली सारी चीज़ें, either it is the website that is collecting that information itself, या फिर थर्ड पार्टी एलिमेंट्स हैं उस वेबसाइट में जो ये सारी इंफॉर्मेशन गैदर करके आगे और कंपनीज को सेल कर रही हैं पर्सनल इंफॉर्मेशन, सो दैट द अदर कंपनीज कैन मार्केट द प्रोडक्ट्स टू द राइट काइंड ऑफ पीपल. सो अगेन मार्केटिंग के लिए और एडवर्टाइजमेंट्स के लिए दीज काइंड ऑफ टेक्निक्स आर वेरी मच इन डिमांड. राइट जी, दो तीन चीज़ें दैट कैन बी यूज्ड इन दिस मॉनिटरिंग प्रोसेस. नंबर वन इज कुकीज़. कुकीज़ के बारे में आपने पहले भी सुना होगा. स्मॉल टेक्स्ट फाइल होती है जो कि कोई एक वेबसाइट आपके कंप्यूटर में ही स्टोर कर देता है. एंड इट ऑल्सो अगेन पर्पस इसका क्या है? इट ट्रैक्स द ब्राउजिंग बिहेवियर ऑफ द यूजर. इट ऑल्सो स्टोर्स द पासवर्ड्स, इट ऑल्सो स्टोर्स द लॉगिन. सो व्हेनेवर यू फॉर एग्जांपल लॉग ऑन ओपन दैट वेब पेज अगेन, तो वो आपकी वही वाली कुकी फाइल उठाता है, उसके अंदर जो भी इंफॉर्मेशन होती है वो अपडेट करके आपके स्क्रीन के ऊपर दिखा देता है. फॉर एग्जांपल, इफ यू हैव गिवन अ लॉगिन, देन इट्स गोइंग टू पुट दैट लॉगिन नेम फॉर यू, एंड देन इट्स गोइंग, फॉर एग्जांपल amazon.com है, वो अगर कुकीज यूज कर रहे हैं देन वो देखेंगे कि आपने पास्ट में कौन से बुक्स खरीदी हैं या आपने कौन सी बुक को लाइक किया या किसको क्लिक किया. Then it's going to give you a list of books that are related with that original purchase, yeah, past purchases, etc. Right जी, web beacon again, it's another monitoring tool. इसमें objects तो होते हैं वो embed किए जाते हैं email और web pages में, and collects the IP address as well as the time of the viewing of the web page, किस browser से web page view किया है, etc. etc. these kind of information. And usually the most popular websites होती हैं उनके ऊपर there are around 25 to 35 web beacons already embedded in it, so that they are monitoring the visitors movements throughout the web page or throughout the website. इसके अलावा we also talked about spyware. जब हमने security का chapter पढ़ा था, then we talked about the spyware as well. It's again an intrusion program, again used for the monitoring. Either it can be very harmless and just simply monitor the person's movements online, but it can also be fatal as well, because it can get the personal information about people as well. Right, जो spyware होते हैं, these can be installed on the computer as well. For example, whenever you installed a program, तो उसके साथ एक spyware भी install हो जाता है. Then again, antivirus programs जो हैं, they are built to kill these spywares as well. Right, now the technical solution उसको solve करने का क्या तरीका है? ये जो monitoring है और browsing behavior जो check हो रहा है online, इसको ख़त्म करने का तरीका एक है P3P, that is the platform for privacy preferences, which means it is an automatic communication of privacy policies between the e-commerce site and its visitors. But most of the popular websites do not comply with this P3P, and they do not have this kind of feature installed. That means कि सिर्फ उन्हीं websites के ऊपर ये वाला feature चलेगा जो कि W3C consortium के accordingly create की गई हैं, and which have this kind of feature to check, to allow the person, to allow the visitors कि उनका जो privacy level है वो कौन सा set हुआ होगा. Right, next we have the property rights, that refers to the intellectual property rights. Intellectual property को हमने पहले भी define किया था कि what is intellectual property. Now the question asked here is कि how will traditional intellectual property rights be protected in a digital society in which tracing and accounting for ownership are difficult, and ignoring such property rights is so easy. That is कि इस environment, digital environment में आप intellectual property rights को किस तरह maintain करेंगे, किस तरह protect करेंगे. So new information systems basically create challenges for protecting these intellectual property rights. Intellectual property क्या चीज़ है? Again, any kind of idea, artwork, music, movie that is created by any person or any company or organization that have the rights for creating that product. Right जी. Now digital age की हमने क्यों बात की? That is because when everything is in a digital form, then it can be easily copied or distributed on the network. That's why it's always a challenge for these kind of companies who have created music, for example, of they've created videos, for example, or they've created any kind of artwork or any kind of idea. Then these things need to be protected. They need to have some kind of laws that need to protect their copying. Like intellectual property is basically protected by three legal traditions. One is trade secrets. Trade secrets can basically intellectual work product used for business purpose, and provided it is not based on information on the public domain. So trade secret जो है, that law protects the actual idea behind the manifestation of the product. For example, जो भी idea है किसी चीज़ को create करने का, trade secret जो है basically protects that idea, not only the manifestation only. But again, it's difficult. The drawback side of this trade secret is that it's difficult to protect the idea, because once a software, for example, या कोई भी product it's widely available, then उसका idea जो है वो कहीं ना कहीं use हो जाएगा. Right जी. Copyright means that you are creating the products from being copied during the life of the person plus 70 years after the person dies. So this is what the usual copyrights say. So any kind of product can be copyrighted, either it's books, dramas, music, artwork, lectures. So these kind of things are all copyrighted. Again, the drawback of copywriting tradition is that the copyright जो है वो manifestations को copyright perform करते हैं. So the idea behind the product or idea behind any kind of music or any kind of book, उस चीज़ को protect नहीं कर सकते. So anybody can use that idea and create any other kind of product from it, and it does not infringe the copyrights. Right जी. Third one is patents. Patents basically grants the owner an exclusive monopoly on the ideas behind an invention, so that the person remains with the idea, उसको financial rewards मिलते हैं उस चीज़ के, and जिसका वो patent है he can sort of sell off that idea and give a license to anybody else who is going to use that idea. So he's going to get the financial rewards for selling that idea and giving the license to other people to use that idea. So basically patents protect the originality, novelty as well as invention. Why? Because the original idea stays with that person and he is going to get the financial rewards for anybody else who's going to use that idea under the license. But then again, even though these laws are there, these traditions are there of trade secrets, copyrights and patents are there, still there's a challenge of protecting the intellectual property, and this is why, because of the use of internet, because of the use of contemporary technologies. Why? Because copying and distributing again is very easy. For the digital media, it's very easy to be transferred from one place to another. There is an ease of transmission, there is an ease of replication, there is an ease of alteration as well as compactness. That is कि इन सारी चीज़ों का, for example, if you have a book, then book का फिर भी कोई size and weight and volume वगैरह होगा. But for example, if it's a digital image, anybody can simply keep it on a USB or store it on a computer, and it will have no volume, no weight, and it will be very compact. So that's why it's easier for these kind of things to be stolen, these kind of things to be sort of uske copyrights diminished ho sakte hain, and these kind of things can be copied, these kind of things can be replicated. So that's why there is a whole lot of challenges that occur when anybody wants to sort of protect their intellectual property that they have created. In 1998, Digital Millennium Copyright Act (DMCA) was created for the same purpose of for providing some kind of copyrights, and according to which different ISPs were told to stop the sites that were or take the sites off that were selling pirated music. That means that was not copyrighted for free. So these websites that were selling pirated music were taken off by the different kinds of information service internet service providers. So these kind of sites were taken off by the internet service providers according to the Act of Digital Millennium Copyright Act. Right. Next is accountability, reliability, and control. The question here is who can and will be held accountable and liable for the harm done to individual and collective information and property rights. So whenever somebody is on the internet and somebody is using a certain kind of a computer, a certain kind of information system to harm somebody else or certain other kind of computers, then who will be held responsible for such an act? Either the company, the organization, the information systems department, or the person who is doing it. And how are they going to basically figure out who is the person responsible for doing such an act? Right? So ये जो हमने accountability, reliability और liability की बात की थी in the previous slide, वो वाली सारी चीज़ें challenge हो जाती हैं when you are talking about something related to the information technology and information systems. So the challenges existing, so basically all of this challenges the existing liability laws and social practices that hold the individuals and institutions responsible. That how are you going to figure out who is responsible for such an act? A simple example is that you people might also relate with it. For example, there is offensive material on a certain kind of a website, either through any kind of website that allows public input, or any kind of website that allows posting on any public bulletin boards. So all of these things जिसमें public अपना input देती है, अगर उस किस्म की website के ऊपर कोई offensive material आता है, then who is going to judge that, who is responsible, and who is going to judge that? Either the company who owns the website is responsible for that, or the person who has done that is responsible for such an act. That is who will be held accountable for such an act. Now, when you talk about people putting an input on the websites, then people's point of view would be that it's all about the freedom of expression. This is what is given by that is the law, that every person has the freedom of expression of doing something. But when we talk about a website, then website के बारे में लोग कहेंगे okay, because it's just a carrier, then they cannot be held responsible for such an act. Just in the case of a telephone system, for example, because telephone system is just a carrier, then telephone का जो misuse है, जो telephone companies हैं, they are not held responsible for that. They are not held accountable for any kind of misuse of the telephone system. But there's a difference here. A website is not a carrier. Internet is the carrier. Website को भी इस तरह deal करेंगे like you deal any kind of broadcasting company or you deal any kind of cable operators. Cable, for example, like you deal any kind of cable television stations, that they are responsible for what kind of material is shown and what kind of content is shown to the public. And they are subject to a wide variety of federal and local constraints on content as well as facilities. So that's why, according to this kind of rule, websites are also subject to different kinds of constraints and subject to different kinds of federal laws, and that's why websites are to be held responsible for what kind of content goes on their websites, especially if the content is coming from different kinds of publics. Again, for example, एक छोटी सी एग्जाम्पल अभी कुछ अर्सा पहले प्रॉब्लम हुई थी फेसबुक के साथ या यूट्यूब के साथ. सो who was held responsible in these kind of records? किस चीज़ को टारगेट किया गया था? That is, the Facebook was the one responsible for allowing any kind of offensive material. So Facebook was held responsible in this regard कि उसने allow किया any kind of offensive material to be posted on its bulletin board or posted on any of its web pages. But then again, इसके आगे और सारे issues आ जाते हैं that what is the definition of an offensive material? कौन सी society में कितना offensive material जा सकता है? कौन सा offensive material की definition क्या है? And there are again different kinds of debates that open in this regard as well. So again, like you said, that information technology basically question करता है आपके accountability process को, आपके liability process को, आपके responsibility process को, that who in the information age is responsible for any kind of act that happens through the help of these computers. Next moral dimension is the system quality, that is the data quality and system errors. The question asked here is that what standards of data and system quality should we demand to protect individual rights and the safety of society? In other words, what we're saying is that what is the technological feasibility level of system quality? किस point पे the system developers or the system analysts are going to say that you are going to stop the system testing? कौन सी requirements हैं जो कि testing में पूरी होनी चाहिए? Either all kinds of errors are resolved in the system testing in the, when the testing is going on or not. Or किस point पे the system analysts are going to say that it's not feasible to do the testing anymore. Because sometimes there are certain errors जिनको solve करना probably feasible नहीं होता. And it's not feasible economically to do that testing at that point. But, so this again raises a lot of ethical questions कि अगर आप एक information system market में ला रहे हैं, users को दे रहे हैं to work on it, then at what level should it be perfect? Like, how are you going to define that the information system being used is the perfect solution and it's not going to create any kinds of errors? But most of the companies do not perform all of the testing. Why? Because it's not feasible to do all of the testing at that point. इसलिए बाद में कोई errors generate होते रहते हैं and they go through different kinds of processes to remove those errors. But mostly the errors caused होते हैं that are caused by different kinds of data entry errors. That's why it's always important that the errors are checked at the data entry level. So these are the very important ones because users से जो mistakes होती हैं, these are the ones that create a lot of problems in the end. Right ji. Another important moral dimension of information system is the quality of life that defines the access and the boundaries. The question here asked is, what values should be preserved in an information and knowledge-based society? Which institutions should we protect from violation? Which cultural values and practices are supported by the new information technology? Again, this is a very thought-provoking aspect of the moral dimensions, because कुछ problems हैं information systems के that have nothing to do with any kind of illegal activity, or it doesn't have anything to do with any kind of unethical activities as well, but there are certain negative social consequences of the information systems. Number one is the balancing power. Balancing power means that usually when they were mainframe systems, तो जो power जो थी, that was mostly kept central. That means the top management, for example, would have the higher authority and they would have the central mainframe working environment. So power भी जो थी वो भी centralized थी. Now it's all about decentralized computing. That means which gives the decision making and the empowerment to the lower level employees. That means कि वो जो fear था power at the higher level, वो वाला fear जो है वो कम हो रहा है. That means people are, it's making the people get more, so it's basically giving the power more to the people at the lower level as well. But then again, it is sort of balanced. Why? Because different, even though there's a certain level of power given to the lower level employees, but the main key decisions जो होते हैं वो फिर भी top level decision makers के पास ही होते हैं. So again, in the organization, it still changes the social structure of the organizations when you move from a centralized power-centric system structure to a more distributed power structure. And then we talk about the rapidity of change. That means there is a reduced response time to the global competition, and this can affect different kind of companies, because if the companies, if you're working in a company and the company cannot respond to the global competition on time, that means that the company will suffer, and that means if you're working in the company, you can also suffer the consequences of the company not being enough competitive or not being enough productive in that regard. So basically we all live now, the businesses are such that they live in a just-in-time society, just-in-time working environment, just-in-time jobs. So everything that is happening has to happen very quickly and on time. So this again also creates a lot of urgency, a lot of competition among the organizations, that they have to be very productive, they have to respond in time, everything has to be just in time so that they can reduce the time and reduce costs. And so basically it's all the run for doing the best, and this invariably affects the people who are working in the environment, because they have to become very competitive and very aggressive in doing so. Right ji. Maintaining boundaries again is very important, because when you have this nomad computing style, when you have this telecommuting style and this do anything anywhere computing environment, it basically weakens the traditional boundaries between a family life and a work life, or work life या leisure का time जो होता है. So वो वाली जो boundaries हैं वो almost diminish हो जाती हैं. For example, if और जो work के hours हैं, जो 8 hours a day वाला work वाला concept है, वो basically expand कर जाता है throughout the day का. So for example, again, do anything anywhere type computing environment में, you can be either in the home or on a vacation or anywhere, and you can be on your mobile phone and you can be doing your work. So again, आपका family time affect होता है, आपका जो vacation का time है वो affect होता है, आपका आराम का time affect होता है. So all of these things basically affect the boundaries that differentiate the family time with the work time. So for example, if you have a laptop, you can bring the laptop home. That means you're bringing the work home and you're working from home. That means वो वाला time जो आपको family के साथ spend करना था, you're still spending that time in work as well. So again, it's because of a lot of competition and a lot of aggressiveness in the business world. Then we talk about the dependence and vulnerability. That is again too much dependence on information systems while standards and regulations are missing. Again, we talked about this before as well, के core business processes के लिए all the organizations depend on the information systems, and there are as such no standards for the accuracy and reliability of the information systems, and there are no such regulations for the security measures as well. Most of the regulations are missing. Then we talk about the computer crime and abuse, acts that are either illegal or unethical. We've talked about crime and abuse before as well. Computer crime, let me remind again, was any kind of act that was involving the use of computers or to the certain computer. While abuse means it's any kind of act that is unethical that involves different kinds of computers. For example, spamming is an unethical act and it's a computer abuse, and they're still not illegal. But in some countries, spamming is still not illegal. Why? Because if it does not include any kind of fraudulent website or fraudulent email, etc., so it is not considered illegal. And when the subject as well as the sender can be tracked, so it can it's not any kind of an illegal activity. So again, it all depends on कि आप किधर हैं, तो उसी के accordingly different rules and regulations जो हैं वो बनाए गए हैं. Right, equity and access means what do you think? These हम वैसे तो कहते हैं कि जो information technology है, this has reduced the cultural boundaries, this has reduced the class differences, but the question is, has it really? Class differences और cultural gaps जो हैं वो क्या वाकई information technology ने कम कर दिया या नहीं? But the real thing is that it has not done so. Why? Because अगर एक school जो है वो एक शहर में है, and if it's a high privileged school, that means that school will have the computers. Children will be using those computers, and they will be more technically aware than anybody who is in a village and who does not have enough facilities to acquire a computer. So that means again, technology की वजह से वो सारा gap create हो जाएगा. That means people who are highly privileged will have better technology as compared to people who are not privileged. So then again, this equity and access does create problems, and even though when we say that it has sort of reduced the cultural gaps, it hasn't, because it still creates the number of gaps, because जो ज़्यादा अमीर लोग हैं वो ज़्यादा better off होते चले जा रहे हैं, और जो गरीब हैं they're not getting enough of the facilities available. Right जी. Then we come to again very important factor of the information systems, या हम जो technology use करते हैं या जो लोग होते हैं जो computer work कर रहे होते हैं constantly, they suffer some certain kind of health risks as well. One of them is a repetitive stress injury. That means कि अगर आपने कोई एक काम constantly कर रहे हैं, for example, if you are using your arm and you're constantly clicking with this finger, then there is a problem with the wrist as well. Wrist muscles के अंदर problem हो सकता है. Then if you're again constantly working on a computer, you can suffer from the computer vision syndrome, जिसको CVS बोला जाता है, जो कि ज़्यादा serious नहीं है, but it does cause headaches, blurred vision, etc. different kind of चीज़ें अगर excessive use किया जाए computers का. That's why it's always advisable कि आप थोड़ी देर computer use करें, then you look at something that is at a distance, so that आपकी eyesight जो है वो ज़्यादा affect ना हो. And then this very newer form of health risk is techno stress. Techno stress basically happens with people who have been using computers for a longer period of time, which is a lot of period of time, so that when you interact with machines, when these people interact with machines, so they sort of develop hostility towards the different human beings, or इनमें aggressiveness आ जाती है, थोड़ा चिड़चिड़ापन, थोड़ा fatigue, इस किस्म के side effects ज़्यादा होना शुरू हो जाते हैं, and sort of they also think that people should also give them the kind of responses the computer program gives them. So then again, there are different kinds of problems that can happen when you are using the computers for a longer period of time. That's why whenever you are installing information systems in the organization, it's always important कि जो health risks हैं उनको भी देखा जाए. So that's why keyboards जब for example develop किए जाते हैं, keeping the ergonomics in mind, that means उनके जो wrist के लिए एक support दी जाती है so that आपकी wrist injury ना हो. So again, there are different products again that are being developed that are based on the ergonomics so that they can reduce any kind of health risks. Right, the purpose of telling you all of this was that is basically to make you aware of the different consequences of using information systems, or the kind of challenges that the information systems bring to the regular society setup, and the different kinds of regular laws and regulations that are already built for the society, but they are not built for any kind of act of criminal act or any kind of abusive act in an online world or with the use of computers. So that's why it's always important that organizations develop different strategies or develop different kind of security measures or develop different kinds of techniques so that they sort of reduce these kind of problems that occur due to the information systems. Right जी, regulations in Pakistan देख लेते हैं थोड़ी. दो companies हैं basically regulatory authorities हैं. Pakistan Telecommunication Authority, that is also responsible for creating rules, regulations, policies and acts basically to telecommunication sector के लिए, but then again they are also responsible for blocking offensive content on the different kinds of websites as well. इसके अलावा there is Federal Investigation Agency's National Response Center for Cybercrime, जिसको NR3C भी कहा जाता है. This is a full-fledged organization that is working related to the cybercrime and the cyber laws in Pakistan. So they have this Electronic Transactions Ordinance that was developed in 2002. That basically again, it's a legal document that defines different kinds of information, different kinds of electric signatures, different kinds of crimes and problems that occur online, and they have given different kinds of legislations and rules as well as fines and punishments for somebody who, if he or she has been caught in such an act, then he is liable to be accountable for such an act. For example, spamming define की गई है इस ordinance में, and spamming, if it has this fraudulent activity going on in the spamming as well, then it has been defined with a fine that is stated as 50,000. And also अगर spamming continued की गई है, then that has a 3 years jail as well. So again, this Electronic Transaction Ordinance basically is a legal document that defines different techniques, different methods of cybercrime as well as computer crime, and it defines different kinds of punishments for doing so as well. So you can look at the site as well. You can look at the Pakistan Telecommunication Authority site, look at the regulations, and look at the NR3C website as well, and look at the different kinds of electronic transaction ordinances placed online as well. तो आप उसका link जाकर देख सकते हैं, and you can have a look at the different things that have different kinds of techniques that have been defined there as well. Right, next is a list of different case studies that जिसमें social और ethical issues different define किए गए हैं. Number 1 is the identity theft at Marriott International in 2005, जिसमें Marriott International को suffer करना पड़ा because of the identity theft, and because that not only steals the personal information of the person, but it also affects the organization as well. So this company had to be was affected by this identity theft, and later on certain rules and regulations were developed for the identity theft as well. So California was the first state to pass a rigorous disclosure law requiring that organization inform people when their personal information is compromised. So again, this was the first step towards informed consent. And then again, it says that it's better to back up the data and store the data in the backup in an encrypted form as well, so that if anything has been stolen, it remains unreadable. Right, the sharing workstations of the hospital's health system, again it was a case study जिसमें एक तो प्रॉब्लम ये था कि जो हेल्थ स्पेशलिस्ट थे, जो नर्सेस थी, डॉक्टर्स थी, they didn't have time enough to log into a system, but they had to log into a system. Why? Because the system, जो information, जो patients की information है, that cannot be leaked out, and that had to be. So it was the hospital's policy that the information has to be kept secret. That's why the information system उन्होंने develop किया. उसके लिए उन्होंने दो चीज़ें की. Number one was that जो sign in process था, जो log in process था, वो biometric कर दिया. They could do this with the finger. That means जो उनका log in time ज़ाया हो रहा था, चीज़ access information access करने में वो reduce हो गया. दूसरी चीज़ ये that when the nurse or when any kind of clinical person was going away from the system, वो screen blank हो जाती थी. And this, people used to wear certain badges that whenever they used to come close to the system, then the application would start all over again, knowing that that person is in the close proximity of that application. So again, information systems can be used to create certain security measures as well, so that अगर कि आपकी organization की policy है that is towards the security, then that kind of security can be implemented in the information systems. Isn't there a disaster recovery problems का जो case study था, that was basically was about the Katrina hitting the New Orleans. उसमें बहुत सारे जो information systems थे वो down हो गए थे. And they were required people to put the systems up, but there was a problem there that the people were busy fixing their own homes, और वो उतना time नहीं दे सकते थे कि वो company का information system fix करें. That's why again इसके बाद disaster recovery जो planning थी वो शुरू हुई, and they wanted to automate the backup process and also automate the process for putting the systems up and running. Then there's a case study about a company that owns the books and music e-commerce site that aligns the security strategy with corporate goals. Again, इसमें भी वही concept है कि अगर if your company has the security policy and it is very much wants to enforce that security policy, then the information systems can be developed in such a way to enforce that security policy and to enforce those laws that can protect the any kind of information from leaking out of the system. So इनका जो security policy थी, that allows a framework that includes technical controls such as firewalls, password control mechanisms, and intrusion detection systems as well. As well as they provided user awareness and training to better secure its online business and corporate network. So that's why, like I mentioned in the previous case study as well, that training is very important for the security as well. That's why the key point for this case study was that it is important for the business side to first create security policies and then look into technology to enforce these policies. And implementing IT security policy as part of the corporate agenda is becoming more important in view of the increasing government regulations. So from 10 years from now, there were not very strict government regulations and laws about different policies of securing the information systems, but now there are certain laws and regulations, even in Pakistan as well, that give certain regulations of how you're going to use the computer system and how you're going to use information systems, and that's why it's very important कि आपके IT policy, IT security policy जो है वो आपके corporate goals के साथ align करे. Right, so far in this chapter we talked about the different social, political, ethical issues that were regarding the information systems, that were related to the information systems, और हमने देखा है कि अगर ethical problems arise होंगे at the individual level, that will have an impact on social society as well as the political institutions as well. That's why it's very important that now that you're going towards the internet age, we're going towards the digital age, we're going towards an age where information technology is used at the widespread level. That's why regulatory agencies need to devise certain laws and regulations so that, and as well as companies need to devise certain kind of security policies, because without those policies and without enforcing those policies, आपका जो information system है वो secure नहीं हो सकता. Or also You have to look at the negative consequences of the information systems as well, and need to implement information systems in such a way that it does not have any serious negative consequences on the people, either on their family lives or in their health risks or on their health, etc. So it's very important that whenever you're designing the information system, the moral dimensions of the information systems need to be kept into consideration. So this is all for today. We talked about the ethics that were involved in the information systems, के आपके illegal use अगर information system का हो रहा है या unethical use हो रहा है information system का, then that means के there is some certain kind of drawback in the information system, या कोई ना कोई ऐसा loophole है जिसको cover करने की ज़रूरत है. So this is where we end all the modules for our information systems. Module 5 आज हमने किया था, that only had one chapter about the social and ethical issues in the information systems. In the next lecture we're going to revise all the chapters जिसमें हम शुरू से शुरू करेंगे about the information systems and end up on the different kinds of and how जो system development cycle हमने देखा था, start to end we're going to revise the whole course. So this is all for today. Thank you very much.